burning question.
Indian Army sends a strong warning to vandals, says there's no space for arson and violence. Dry services assure Agnipath aspirants on the new radical scheme. Forces say there won't be a rollback. Prime Minister stings the opposition with a sharp attack, says opposition politics is hurting revolutionary reforms and the country. But the politics continues. The political war over Agnipath continues. Multiple opposition parties demand rollback of the scheme.
अगर ये बच्चे सड़कों पर ना निकले होते, अगर ये भी इसी तरह एहतजाज करते जिस तरह हमने किया है, तो क्या इनकी मांगों पर गौर किया जाता?
And cleric Tauqir Raza Khan at it again, justifies the violence over Agnipath, says centre won't hear them if the trains weren't set ablaze. What is he talking about? All right, welcome this Sunday evening. The armed forces have made it clear there will be no rollback of Agnipath, and the forces will not tolerate indiscipline. No, ladies and gentlemen, no amount of violence and arson can arm twist our defense services into acquiescing to their demands. And it has also been made amply clear that they will not go soft on the perpetrators. Yes, these lawbreakers will be flagged and banned from even contesting for the Agnipath project, or even for any other government, allaying all fears, clearing the air on the misinformation and speculations. There are a few trying to stoke a fire. Those who have to question every policy, every reform, every move by this government. But we ask, ladies and gentlemen, petty politics aside, is it right to question the integrity of our armed forces? Is it right to abet violence and mislead our innocent young minds? As we debate today over should we or not have a younger, diverse army, is defense service only a job security scheme in our country? We get to it after this short report.
खतरों से आंखें मिलाने का हो जुनून, ऐसे हैं भारत के वीर जवान.
One big announcement.
अग्निपथ योजना में भारतीय नौजवानों को बतौर अग्निवीर आर्म्ड फोर्सेस में सेवा का अवसर प्रदान किया जाएगा.
Has triggered violent protests. Brazen politics.
इस कविता का नाम आपने एक ऐसी स्कीम को दे दिया है जो इस देश के नवयुवकों को मार डालेगा. ऐसी स्कीम है जो इस सेना को खत्म कर देगा.
आप इन 20 सवालों का जवाब दीजिए. लोगों के मन में जो संशय है उसको दूर कीजिए.
भारतीय सेना को एक प्रयोगशाला मत बनाइए.
जो है ये मोदी सरकार ने भारत की सुरक्षा से वो खिलवाड़ कर रहे हैं.
Relentless provocation.
अग्निपथ की योजना सफल नहीं होगी. आप जिन लोगों को ट्रेनिंग देकर, जो ट्रेनिंग आर्मी में दी जाती है, शूट टू किल.
In Patna, some say certain coaching institutes are instigating.
पुलिस के द्वारा जो उचित कार्रवाई है वो की जा रही है. अन्य कोचिंग संस्थान जो हैं उनकी भूमिका की जांच हम लोग कर रहे हैं, और अगर संपुष्टि होती है किसी भी संस्थान की तो उस पर हम लोग FIR दर्ज करेंगे और कड़ी कार्रवाई करेंगे.
In Uttar Pradesh, those with political links were found to be involved.
पॉलिटिकल पार्टी के लोग भी शामिल थे, बाद में पता लगा. उनमें हम लोगों ने 5 को आइडेंटिफाई करते हुए मुकदमा लिख के जेल भेजा है. वो वर्तमान में जेल में है.
The Prime Minister had this message for the opposition.
पिछले साल मुझे डिफेंस कॉम्प्लेक्स के लोकार्पण का भी अवसर मिला था। हमारे देश का दुर्भाग्य है कि बहुत सी अच्छी चीजें, अच्छे उद्देश्य से की गई चीजें, वो ऐसी राजनीति के रंग में फंस जाती हैं।
Chief ministers are saying this is a scheme to be proud of.
जिसके पास ट्रेनिंग होगी, जिसके पास अनुशासन होगा, जिसके पास धैर्य होगा और विपरीत संकट के समय देश के लिए क्या जज्बा होना चाहिए, ये भाव होगा।
And now, after a high-level meet between Rajnath Singh and the tri-services chiefs,
Defence Minister along with three tri-service chiefs also deliberated on how to address the further concerns.
This mega briefing by the tri-services took place.
भारतीय सेना की फाउंडेशन है डिसिप्लिन, नो स्पेस फॉर नो आर्सन। उकसारा कौन था? दो किस्म के लोग थे, एक इनमिकल एलिमेंट्स, दूसरे कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूशन जो चला रहे थे।
The tri-services bust all attempts to fearmonger about Agniveers.
इसी तरीके से उसको हमारे से भिन्न नहीं रखा है। इसके अलावा जो डिसेबिलिटी, अगर किसी सेम प्रोविजन, जो मेरी प्रोविजन है वही उसकी प्रोविजन है, देयर इज नो फर्क फॉर एन अग्निवीर।
The culprits will be identified.
Now imagine इनकी फोटोएं आपने भी ली हैं, हमने भी ली हैं, पुलिस वालों ने भी ली हैं, ये सब फोटोएं ले ली गई हैं, and all these photographs would be available somewhere and they'll immediately get connected to the Aadhaar card. So why, Roger, your future?
But will the opposition relent?
इस राष्ट्र नीति को कुछ लोग हजम नहीं कर पाते हैं, इस पर भी राजनीति करते हैं। अग्निपथ स्कीम एक ऐसा ही विषय है जिस पे राजनीति बिल्कुल नहीं होनी चाहिए।
There is no room for politics on our forces. Tonight, it's time for the opposition to make a choice for our forces or against them. Let's debate.
All right, thanks for joining viewers this Sunday evening. It really shows how concerned you are about this very important reform in India's defense architecture that is going to have a lot of bearing on how our national security would look like over the next 10 years. Joining us on this debate, a very balanced panel of guests, beginning with pro-government voices, Tom Vadakkar, spokesperson of the BJP, joining us live from Delhi, Major General K.K. Sinha, retired defense expert, joining us live from Delhi, Brigadier Anil Gupta, retired defense expert, joining us live from Jammu, SP Vaid, former DGP Jammu and Kashmir, bringing in very important voice so far as police forces and the paramilitary forces are concerned. And then on the side of opposition, those who don't want this reform, Syed Faisal Ali, senior leader of the RJD, joining us from Patna, Amit Jamai, national spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party, live from Lucknow. Then we have Ravula Sridhar Reddy joining us from Hyderabad, spokesperson of the TRS, Telangana Rashtra Samiti. And then Anirban Banerjee, political analyst, live from Kolkata, leans towards the TMC. Let me first put my question to Samajwadi Party's representative here, Amit Jamai. Amit Jamai, आप एक बात बताएं, जो सहारनपुर में अरेस्ट हुई है, उसमें एक आपके नेता हैं संदीप चौधरी, जो बिल्कुल भी 17 से 21 साल के बीच में नहीं है. He is not between 17 and 21 years of age. He is not eligible to be an Agniveer under the Agnipath scheme. Why has he been arrested? For protesting against the project which is so important for India's defense reforms. Jamai.
देखिए, उत्तर प्रदेश में तो गिरफ्तार होना, एनएसए लगना ऐसे है जैसे सुबह दोपहर शाम में उत्तर प्रदेश में तो कुछ भी हो सकता है। हमारा ये कहना है कि वायलेंस किसी भी प्रोटेस्ट में, चाहे कोई भी हो, मंडल कमीशन का प्रोटेस्ट हुआ, कमंडल कमीशन का प्रोटेस्ट हुआ, वायलेंस किसी भी मायने में एक्सेप्ट नहीं किया जाना चाहिए, चाहे वो अक्रॉस द पार्टी कोई भी हो। एसपी का कंसर्न क्या है? एसपी का कंसर्न ये है कि ये जो 4 साल का जो ये प्रोग्राम आया है, सेना रोजगार का अड्डा नहीं है। हमारे देश में जो नौजवान बचपन से पढ़ाई करके सेना में जाना चाहते हैं, वो रोजगार के लिए नहीं जाते हैं, वो जाते हैं अपनी मादरे वतन के लिए, इस मातृभूमि के लिए पाकिस्तान के बॉर्डर पे, चाइना के बॉर्डर पे हम उन्हें हथियार सिखाते हैं, हम उन्हें टैंक सिखाते हैं, हम उन्हें शूटर बनाते हैं, हमें स्नाइपर बनाते हैं, वो मिसाइल लॉन्च करते हैं, तब जाके हम उनके परिवारों का पेंशन का इंतजाम, सोशल सिक्योरिटी का इंतजाम, और उन्हें हम वेल ट्रेंड करते हैं, जिनके बारे में आज ये कहा जा रहा है।
जमाई साहब, you are getting it. Jamai Sahab, you are putting the cart before the horse. Let me explain. I will give you empirical evidence of why we need a younger army. 1962, India lost the war, and there was a rethink that happened about why we did so. And one important reason was that perhaps the army was aging, and that's why fresh recruitments started between 1963 and 67-68, which led to a dividend in the form of India so comprehensively defeating the Pakistan army. Now, based on that empirical evidence, should we not have a younger army? Let me get an Anirban Banerjee on this. Anirban, a lot of protests in areas. Jamai Sahab, let me just get. We'll open the debate. Let me just get opening voices. Anirban, should we not get a younger army based on this evidence that our defense history records?
No, very true. Abhishek, I absolutely support your argument, and I'll just add something extra. Why only for 4 years? If you are allowing the young brigade, say of 17 years of age or 18 years of age, to enter the army, fine. Why not give them a tenure of 10 years maybe 15 years, and then give them some pension, the pension scheme? Why are you withdrawing the pension scheme? Why are you cutting short the tenure to just 4 years? What is your exact plan? You have changed the rules more than 10 times in the last few days after the protesters hit the street. And now you very conveniently blame the opposition for it. When the protests started, no opposition had said anything about the scheme because it was very new for all of us. It was the aspiring army men who wanted to be in the army, wanted to serve our country, who started these protests across India. And now you conveniently blame the opposition. You simply come out and say that everything is fine, everything is very good about the scheme. This is the exact tone that we also heard during the farmers' protest. When the farmers' bill were put before us, the government said that everything is good, everything is for the benefit of the farmers. Every one of the BJP people, they termed the farmers as terrorists, as Khalistanis, as Pakistan agents, etc., etc. And eventually they rolled back the bill, they rolled back the scheme. And the same fate is awaiting this scheme also.
Anirban, a couple of points come out of your opening remarks. One is that why not give them pensions? The other is that the scheme is new to us. Maybe it was not communicated properly. Now, let me just go to General Sinha. General Sinha, the defense forces have explained it beautifully about why making this tenure 4 years and then absorbing some of them and then continue them in the armed forces makes the army younger. But our friends in the opposition are not willing to understand. Are they not understanding, or are they not willing to understand, General Sinha?
Abhishek, they are not willing to understand this. Heart to heart, they also know what the people are saying, what the service chiefs are saying, what the military is saying. See, just before me, someone quoted, the farmers' bill. Farmers' bill was, and he is just trying to have an anomaly with, trying to equate with this reform. This reform is military driven. This reform is by, Army, Navy and Air Force jointly together. And then, it has been taken the government along because this is our demand. And demand is, they have heard, because they must not have heard the, service chiefs coming, the military reps are coming. They are briefing them that it is supposed to start somewhere 89. 99, I took part in Kargil, and in the Kargil committee report, even I have given my recommendation because I have gone through numbers of attacks. And we know what is the requirement. In 21st century, the requirement is absolutely technology driven, absolutely young, bubbling with Josh, with what they have said. And they must not have said, because no one is speaking about it. See, the flap which has been added to the Indian military because of the welfare, it has worked out to be 1:1.85. That Ustad, we may be calling, the leadership. The Ustad which starts from the Lance Nayak, Havaldar, Lance Havaldar, and like this up to the chain of chief. It has added the flap. The cutting edge is required. Today, in 21st century, you require the technology-driven, the manpower. And the manpower base has been increased. One is, it has 3 times it has gone up.
Yes.
And you have to catch. And if you keep it more period of time, you will not get the technology, the manpower who has been, upgraded in technology. The young, and this is what exactly in the today's briefing that said, Josh and Hosh has to be balanced it out. We just can't do this the way, the people are protesting. So just can't do this way. And the military requirement can't be decided on the street by protest.
I think there seems to be some video issue there with General Sinha. I'll come to him. But then since he was mentioning about flab in the army, and this is for my opposition guests here, or those who are opposing making Indian army and the forces younger. In 1977, which is 44 years ago, almost half century, the then Army Chief General Raina set up a committee under General K.V. Krishna Rao and General Sundarji, among others, to study this issue of how to make our forces younger. This was specific to the army. And there was a unanimous recommendation that we need to reduce the average age, and that happens if you restructure the recruitment process in a manner that you are getting younger men and they are leaving the army younger. In fact, in 1985, a suggestion was made within the forces that the soldiers should remain not more than 7 years or till the age of 25 or 26. And then for the technical arms, maybe they can stay longer till 50, 55, but those who are fighting, they should retire by the age of 25, 26. These are recommendations made in 1977, repeated in 1985, and then again in 1989. Now, those people who were in government there sat over them, because for them it seems that the recruitment process is some kind of political patronage. Ravula Sridhar Reddy, since you are here, and the only casualty we have seen in these protests happened in Telangana, please tell us, do you disagree with these reports by our defense services, which have been wanting a younger army for the last 4 or 5 decades?
See, first we strongly condemn the violence that happened even in Telangana, and we lost the youth in the violence that happened in Hyderabad, in the Secunderabad railway station. The railway police opened the fire. Unfortunately, a youth who was aspiring to join the army died. It's a great loss to their family, and we don't want any such incidents to repeat anywhere in the country. That is first thing. Second, who stops you to recruit youngsters? Nobody is stopping you to recruit a young army. The question is, why are you limiting it to 4 years? And I'm feeling, disturbed to know, rather understand from the words of few people talking about here, that after 25 years that you think that people cannot upgrade their technology. All those who are about 25 years in the army today, they are not competent enough to understand the technology, what is coming up. And we fought Kargil war, we won it.
No, that is actually an issue, Reddy sir. You see,
the issue is here.
You raise a point. Let this be answered.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead. No. Let me just bring in Brigadier Anil Gupta on this. Brigadier Gupta, 2 points made by our guest from South, Ravula Sridhar Reddy, that there is no problem in recruiting them young, but you can keep them longer, not just 4 years, and that they can upgrade themselves in terms of whatever requirements by way of changes in technology come in. Is this argument something which has not been looked into by the defense forces before coming to this conclusion? I think they have.
See, it's been, let's understand, the 65 and 71 war when they were fought, the color service of a sepoy was 7 years. And average age of Jawans or the service of the Jawans in the units was below 4 years. Still we won the 65 and 71 war. So therefore, the younger you are, better it is. As the age profile kept increasing, we found problems. And you mentioned of certain studies carried out. He mentioned of the Kargil war. We won the Kargil war, but it is the Kargil war after action report, the Subramaniam committee, which had recommended that the age profile of the army should be brought down. And though nobody acted upon that. And today, it is 32 years, the average age of a sepoy. So if that is the age, and that is the problem we are facing, is that today there are almost in every unit 10 to 15% soldiers who want a premature retirement. They want to leave early. They are frustrated. There are no promotions. There's nothing to look forward to. For 17 years, he says he's doing same thing repeatedly again and again. There is no adventure left for him. So for all these things are adding to the management policy. The human resource management policy of the army is badly flawed. It is suffering. There are a lot of problems. It needed amendments. It needed change. And now the change has been brought in, and now there are objections. I think 4 years is an adequate time. More you keep, the same problem of the age. Well, longer he serves, older the age profile of the army will get. So this is a very worked out, scientifically worked out thing. I think there is nothing wrong.
I would like to make a point here, Abhishek.
Yeah. Sridhar Reddy is responding. Please respond. Sridhar Reddy, he's the expert. He's the defense services guy. Between General Sinha and Brigadier Anil Gupta, we have those who have been in the army. They know the things better, but then you have a counter. Please respond.
Yeah, I have a point here. They are experts. There is no doubt about it. But out of 4 years, a full 1 year goes for the training, more or less, along with the leaves and all that. And they effectively serve the army for 2.5 years to 3 years. And why do you want to train, fresh team every 4 years? 4 years is too small a time for a army man to understand even from the outside, we can understand.
Who would decide? The experts? Who would decide? Sridhar Reddy Saab, who would decide? The experts or the lay politicians?
Why not?
The defense services guys.
This premise is wrong.
Abhishek,
this premise is wrong.
If experts only have to decide,
This premise is wrong.
Experts have been waiting for the
past finish.
20 years.
Mr. Reddy, please listen to me.
If the decision was made,
Mr. Reddy,
the observations were given in 89. Why the country waited? Why the consecutive governments have waited? Because they felt it is.
Well, that's for the opposition to answer. If you're talking about the present ruling dispensation, except for 99 to 2004, this is the time they have been in power for some time, and they have been working on these reforms. I'll come to that section again, but let me get Tom Vadakkan of the BJP involved. Tom, once Sridhar Reddy is saying why this was not done earlier, despite the fact that these reforms have been sought for by the defense forces for almost 4 decades now, whether you would want to answer that. Also, as Anirban said, the issue is about pensions. I mean, he's wanting to overlook the fact that for every 100 rupees given as salaries to the standing army, 105 rupees are already being spent on pensions. Still, Anirban believes that Indian armed forces should remain some kind of job guarantee scheme and the pension should be given. Would you like to answer these 2 points raised by the opposition?
Abhishek, the story began in 1989 when there was a need felt that the army needs to be greener. Now, how do you compare the army's age? It is not a calculation based on...
But why you did not reform the army then, Tom? Sridhar Reddy is saying in 1989, why were you not there?
1989 was a date when the other governments were in place. Today, our government is there. We have realized there's a need for greening of our army. The narrative is very clear. We want a young team there.
What about
1999 Kargil? Now, let me answer some questions. 1999, there was the Subramaniam Committee report, which indicated an emergency need of a younger blood. And that is what is being injected. Now, these political parties want to make political capital and try and create a situation that every reform in this country...
I'm sorry. I seriously object to it.
What about the
We are
ruling
not dispensations?
dispensations? What about the ruling dispensations then? They did not do it.
Reddy sir, I'll come to you. Reddy sir, just give 2 minutes. Give 1 minute to Tom. I'll come to you.
My charge is that political parties who do not know about the armed forces better keep out of it. This is a narrative which the armed forces want. They want a younger generation coming
knows
in.
everything
And
about
this
the
is
armed
part
forces?
of the exercise.
No, how come the BJP knows everything about the armed forces?
Anirban,
because we are connected. We are connected.
What is the BJP?
We have a prime minister.
Let's have a structured argument. Let's have a structured argument. Tom is saying...
what is so special about the BJP?
Anirban, let's have a structured argument. Tom is saying
you can't do
that leave this very complex issue. Anirban, listen. Tom, I'm helping you. Tom. I'm just giving proper perspective.
Learn to speak, understand what you're saying.
I'm giving you proper perspective.
Whom can you listen to?
What Tom is saying is that let the experts decide. I'm still to go to SP where he is a very important contributor to this. He's going to be a very important contributor to this debate because he brings the police perspective. But what Tom is suggesting is let's leave it to the experts. Now, why?
Abhishek.
Why?
Abhishek, what about those experts who have
let me complete. During the press conference in which the Agnipath recruitment scheme was announced, the Navy chief made it very clear that this is a result or product of an intense exercise of deliberations with the stakeholders, with the armed forces, with veterans, with think tanks that went on for almost 2.5 years. It's well thought out scheme where studies have been done on what other countries are doing, how they are tackling this situation. War gaming has happened, and after that only this scheme has been rolled out. Anirban, let me go to SP Ved. SP Ved sir, you have been in Jammu and Kashmir. You have headed the police forces there. With your experience of combat, how would you counter this opposition charge that just keeping soldiers for 4 years or these Agniveeds for 4 years does not help make the army younger or does not make the forces younger?
See, Abhishek ji, first of all, I want to make one point very clear that we in India need to get over this mindset that the property belongs to government. This mentality of British time, it belongs to government and burn it or damage the government property, not realizing that is your taxpayers' money, which is actually spent on building these assets, whether railway, buses, whatever the public property and private property you are damaging. I think we all need to get over this mentality. If we get pained when on any pretext here in India, people resort to violence. And as a police officer and a citizen of this country, I feel pained and how we destroy crores of rupees, ultimately which goes on the taxpayer burden. Number one. Number two, coming to your point, see, what I understand of the scheme, it was long pending and a tri-services led reform. It is incidental that present government took this bold decision of implementing it. And I don't know why the earlier governments did not implement. In fact, the services wanted a younger army. What General Sinha was mentioning, I have no doubt about their requirement. I think we should go by their expert judgment. I would have liked if opposition leaders of different parties would have consulted the tri-services chiefs, the veterans, the Army and Navy and Air Force retired chiefs, and if there were any points they would have come out or found which they wanted to bring it to the notice of the government for changes in the system, that would have been much appropriate, and not politicizing these
I would want the opposition guests here to take this question, but let me just go to Syed Faisal Ali because I have not been able to go to him. Syed Faisal Ali, the maximum violence has taken place in Bihar. Railways targeted, public property targeted. As Vatsab was saying, this is not government property. This is people's property. These are national assets. These come from tax-paid money. Whom are you trying to damage? It's your country as well. सैयद फैसल अली, आप देश का नुकसान करवा रहे हैं अगर आप इन प्रोटेस्ट और इस वायलेंस को और इस डिस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ पब्लिक प्रॉपर्टी को सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं.
Well, let me tell you one thing, that we all are opposed to violence and whatever criminal activities are taking place. We firmly believe that there should not be any violence, there should not be any tort, there should not be any damage to the national property, because all these properties belong to us. But the fact remains that there are hundreds and thousands of people, there are hundreds and thousands of youths who are frustrated, who are not getting job, who are unemployed, and you are asking why it's taking the largest scale violence in Bihar. There are primarily two reasons. First and foremost, that the average unemployment rate in Bihar is about 16%, just the double of the national unemployment rate. Secondly, Biharis constitute roughly 11% of the Indian army. So these are two reasons. And thirdly, and most importantly, that Bihar is ruled by the Bharatiya Janata Party for last 17 years. And this government and the alliance government has failed to provide employment to the Bihari youth who are on the street today. So please look in the broader perspective. You cannot say that they are hooligans, they are gundas, they are ruffians, they are
this almost amounts to settling political scores. No, this almost amounts to settling political scores, Syed Faisal Ali. You are suggesting you are moving the goalposts. Syed Faisal Ali, what you are saying is, because there is unemployment and now a very important far-reaching defense reform has happened, you want to jockey the issue of unemployment over recruitment in the armed forces, for God's sake.
With the socio-political and economic composition of the society. What is happening? They are saying, I respect all the experts who are sitting in the panel. What about those experts?
Armed forces are not a tool for economic management of the country. What are you saying, Syed Faisal Ali? Would someone respond to him? General Sinha, can you respond to him?
Please let me finish. Please, I request
No, General Sinha has to respond to you. He is the expert. He has to respond to you. You are wanting armed forces to become a tool for economic measures and general prosperity of people. That's not the case. That should not be the case. General Sinha, please respond.
Please listen to me. Please listen to me. Please, for God's sake. Please, God's sake, please listen to me. Abhishek, please don't do politics on this, please, for God's sake. Please listen to me.
Please listen to General Sinha. He's the expert. Please listen to him. Please listen to him. This has potential to have demoralizing consequences on the men in uniform. Please listen to General Sinha. Please.
Can you listen to me, please?
Listen to the experts. We will listen to it. We will listen to it.
Please listen to. Can you listen, please?
I'll come to Sridhar.
You have got verbal diarrhea or what?
I'll come to you. Please let General Sinha respond to what Faisal Ali has said, that armed forces should be used to take care of the issue of unemployment. This is not done. General Sinha, please respond.
This is what I'm saying.
Abhishek, this can be the biggest joke which should come out and flash. That armed forces is the place where the recruitment is important and the employment is important. That is not the matter. It is a very serious. The security of the country in the hand of the armed forces. They have got a great responsibility. Even an inch of ground going, even a single man getting hurt, it is, we have to look into it. The requirement of modernization, the requirement of keeping the armed forces young is our demand. It has been, overpending. Now when you are doing it, someone has taken.
Yes.
Because we were saying from last 40 years after 1971 war, it is Sam Manekshaw, that time he suggested the people who are in the power that we have one, please take our boys to the laterally, to the different, and please take them so that we can keep our armed forces younger, even after 71 war. No one has listened. No one. Today, at least someone after 40 years has realized that, it can go to this lateral way, it can be observed. And someone is asking about 4 years.
Let me take this to... Sir, we got your point. We got your point. Let me take this to Anirban and Sridhar Reddy. Anirban first. Anirban, is it right to question the integrity of our armed forces? This is not the BJP doing. This is not the government doing. This is essentially an internal exercise of the subject experts, of the generals wanting a younger soldier, of the admirals wanting younger sailors. I mean, what are you saying? Are you going to demoralize our forces just because you want to put the government on the mat?
No. This is emotional blackmailing. First of all, nobody is questioning the armed forces' integrity or their moral or anything. Whenever this is after all a government,
but you are going to decide the structure of the armed forces.
But it is the government that gives the nod. Sir,
you are going to decide the structure of the armed forces.
Sir, just a minute. No. I have a simple question for you.
You are trying to tell us
sir, do you receive pension? Sir, do you receive pension? Sir, do you receive pension?
Doesn't make a difference.
Sir, do you receive pension?
Doesn't make a difference. Doesn't make pension is not important.
Why don't you forfeit your pension? Why don't you forfeit your pension?
This is little demeaning of the forces. Anirban, I'll have to come to the support of the generals here, of the armed forces here. Anirban,
not the issue.
That's a wrong argument, for God's sake. Army is not
nothing to do with the pension.
a money-making proposition.
It is a narrative.
Why? Of course, this is an employment.
You have made the entire opposition plan clear. It is not about a younger army. It is about pensions. It is some kind of job guarantee scheme. Would the nation really accept it?
Whom to tomb. From whom to tomb. This is exactly has been uttered today. We know how to take care of our boys.
You are also forgetting.
You are not.
No. General Sahab, let me just speak to Anirban. General Sahab, let me just speak to Anirban. General Sahab, let me speak to Sena sir. Let me just speak to Anirban. Anirban, you are saying it is all about pension, so you are suggesting that. But the point is, Agniveers after 4 years would have lots and lots of hand-holding. The Ministry of Home Affairs has given 10% reservation to Agniveers already in Central Armed Paramilitary Forces. The Ministry of Defence has given 10% or announced 10% reservation in all the ancillary units, defence, public sector undertakings that come under them to Agniveers. State police forces, at least half a dozen have already announced they will get preference in jobs. 85, this was announced by the Additional Secretary of Department of Military Affairs, Lieutenant General Puri today, that 85 big corporations in the private sector have already committed to taking or absorbing all the Agniveers that would be coming out based on their skill set. Universities would be giving them degrees. Now, you see this very shallow argument, but what about pensions? See, at the age of 23, 25, you have your life ahead. You are raring to go. You can take challenges. It's not about pensions for these youngsters. Perhaps you are little removed, Anirban, from the reality on the ground.
No, that is the point. To get inducted in the army, a young man has to work hard for many years. It is very hard to get into the army, and then you are retiring after only 4 years. And after 4 years, there are only promises. What happens if the corporations do not induct them? It is not written in any
these
law.
Are concrete.
It is not an act
concrete measures. Brigadier Gupta, you have to counter this. These are concrete measures. Anirban, these are not shallow promises.
If they do not induct, what happens?
These are concrete measures.
Nobody knows if they
I'll ask Tom Vadakan, in fact, to come in now. Tom, you have to answer to Anirban that these are shallow promises being made. Please answer, it's your government.
Army is not an employment exchange.
Brigadier Gupta, let Tom come in. Tom, it's a charge against the government. Let Tom come in.
Is to defend the nation. And for defending the nation, the armed forces.
Right, sir. Let Tom respond to this political charge. It's a political charge that these are hollow promises. Let Tom respond.
Please.
When they come with arguments,
I'll answer that. They're not hollow promises.
That is what the BJP has said. Hollow promise after hollow promise.
10% reservation for Agnipath is not a hollow promise. It is over and above the 10% reservation.
Brigadier Saab, let Tom respond. Tom, would you respond to this very political charge made by Anirban that these are hollow promises? That the Union Home Ministry might or might not give jobs, Defense Ministry might or might not give jobs.
I mean, this can happen in West Bengal, hollow promises. This is the government of India and the Indian Army and the Indian Navy and the Air Force giving a commitment on these issues.
Where is the black money, sir? No, where is the black money then? Okay, fine. Let's start from the beginning. Where is the black money that you are supposed to bring back? Where is the black money that you are supposed to bring back?
My dear sir, 16 crore
comparing
jobs
apples and oranges. This is about the army.
Anirban, you are knowing the goalpost.
This was your election promise. We are not comparing. I am
We are diverting from the main debate.
Hollow promises that you have made. You have lied.
We are digressing. I agree with the panelists there. We are digressing.
People of this country every time. What happened to the black money?
We
are digressing. Let me have a very reason.
Where are the fake notes?
You asked Mamta ji where
Let me.
You asked Mamta.
No, the BJP has a history
Faisal
of false promises.
Faisal Ali,
we cannot trust the BJP.
Anirban, hold on. Let's have a very reasoned argument. Let me go to Sridhar Reddy on that. Sridhar Reddy.
No.
Sridhar Reddy.
The BJP has made all these promises.
You know, this is just one. This is just one of the many reforms in the defense sector which this government has brought in. And let's begin with Doklam, for example. It was not reform, but an incident that happened. The Chinese came in, they were in their territory, but this government really showed strong muscle and stopped them there. But the opposition said, why this is happening? Now, you don't control the Chinese generals. The government controls our generals, and then we prove that our army is tough and courageous. Again, look at the surgical strikes, the manner in which the opposition really questioned the government to the extent that the generals had to come out and defend and say that we have carried out these surgical strikes. You are not believing your own soldiers. Again, if you look at the Rafale case, you went to court, the topmost court of the country said that there is no corruption that has happened. And again, that was an episode which had demoralizing consequences.
You mean to say nobody should raise the...
Reform after reform. Reform after reform, you are opposing it in such an important area which concerns national security only to buttress your politics. Isn't it being petty? Sridhar Reddy, I want you to answer that.
What I'm trying to tell you, that nobody is against reforms. Any decision that is taken by the government which can compromise the national interest, as a responsible political party, when people are protesting, we will become their voices. It doesn't mean that you should not ask. You are saying time and again, listen to the experts. What about those experts who are disagreeing this proposal? We have General Bakshi speaking, this plan is completely ill-planned. There are so many experts who have worked as generals and lieutenant generals also are disagreeing. And you mean to say, if it is completely foolproof after 2 years deliberation, why have you made 11 changes in 5 days? Secondly, you wanted to give them jobs in CAPF, Central Armed Police Forces. You mean to say that they don't need a younger generation in them? You don't want them to be young? They are also fighting the Naxals. They are also fighting the terrorists which are in the country. What I'm trying to ask you here is, the experts who are speaking for the government, we are not neither pro or anti. We are discussing a national issue where the concern of the youth, concern of the youngsters, those who want to aspire to join the country's elite army. We are not trying to politicize the issue. Who is politicizing? BJP social media handles, and BJP union ministers are so ill-informed. They say that we will train them as drivers, we will train them as barbers. In the army, they can come out and make saloons. And one BJP...
No, nobody is saying that. Nobody is saying that they would be trained as barbers and drivers. Please, for God's sake. Tom, please respond. Again, an attempt being made to misinform. Tom, please respond. Another attempt is being made to misinform on national TV.
This is a narrative created by certain political parties towards a political end. They are going to face defeat in these elections. So they are trying to create instability in this country. The attempt is to create instability, provoke the younger generation, misguide them, towards an end because they know this is the last phase and they cannot face the electorate. The reality is they are going to face a big defeat in the elections coming. So this is a cover-up operation to create a narrative. There is a young man being questioned by the enforcement directorate, and then there is a Satyagraha movement. Look at the Satyagraha 1 and Satyagraha 2. This is all an exercise of political eyewash. Political eyewash to bring down the Indian Army. You have questioned the integrity of the Indian Army, and I'm afraid. Yes.
Even as Sridhar Reddy opposes, he's trying to sound reasonable, you know. But I have to take a short break. But on the other side, I will put some tough questions to Tom, with Sridhar Reddy and Anirban would particularly like. So just stay back. I will take a short 1.5 minute break and come back. All right, welcome back. Now, my question to Tom Vadakkan is, since we were discussing this entire exercise, a couple of points come out from the opposition ranks, which I think I need to put to Tom because he represents the BJP and the ruling party. Tom, Anirban said pension is an issue, that something should be done so that these Agniveers, if they serve a little longer, could be eligible for pensions. The RJD spokesperson Syed Faisal Ali said that the protests were a fallout of the massive unemployment problem in Bihar. For longest period of time, BJP has been in alliance in the government there. Then I think Sridhar Reddy mentioned that the communication was not proper. Someone also mentioned that, like in the case of farm laws, this time also the government has been a little ham-handed. You think even veterans, for example, some of them initially were not very convinced. It's only after a massive communication outreach that has been made by the government that everyone is convinced that yes, this is in the interest of the country. This is in the interest of the armed forces, and that we would be better off with Agnipath rather than not have it. You think, Tom, that the government could have had a better communication strategy? It could have preempted this opposition by making an outreach. We have seen the case of farm laws, the government had to withdraw them. We have seen in the case of land acquisition bill. We have seen in the case of labor reforms, for example. It is almost a saga of the government coming out with reforms and then taking them back because of a bad communication strategy.
The NRC.
Abhishek, the issue here is, we are a parliamentary democracy. In parliamentary democracy, you discuss, and when an issue is raised, the government is sensitive to issues. Certain actions are taken online. And now, for example, there were certain decisions about increasing the age and other things. These are teething problems that have been addressed. Now, when a new reform comes in, there must be a kind of patience to understand it. Here we have a situation of a person, I've said this on other channels too, that when a person is pretending to sleep, you can't wake him up. When a person is asleep, you can wake him up. So this kind of a logic that they're adopting, they're creating a counter narrative. One is unemployment. Unemployment is not to be addressed by the army. The army is a fighting force that needs action. Youngsters are the need of the day. Compare them with the armies of Pakistan, China, Russia, or any other country.
Is it not an employment? Is it not a government job? Tom, is it not a government job?
This is not a social security environment. How do you think of a young man at 23? He gets about 12 lakhs in his hand and is ready for reservations in other sectors. And there's provision for him. And you refuse to believe that promises are made at the highest level. And you believe they are all just promises, hollow promises. This is not an election campaign.
Of course,
this is a campaign for my country. This is a campaign for the nation. This is a campaign for the army. This is not about politics. Please keep politics out of it. Think about this country, the defense of your country. And that is the question. That is why I'm saying...
We do not trust the BJP. We do not trust the BJP.
You do
BJP
not
leader
trust the
Kailash
army.
Vijayvargiya said
Tom,
we will
trust the army.
utilize the Agniveers
You
as
do
security
not
guards for
trust the
BJP party
army.
officers.
That's the problem.
This is what
You
Mr.
do
Vijayvargiya
not
said.
trust the
You
army,
want to use the
Navy,
Agniveers as
the
your
Air
private
Force,
security
because
guards.
you are
That is what you want to utilize the army as.
The respect for the army. I'm sorry, this is not about politics. This is not about BJP. This is not about
Tom.
This is about my country.
Argument that
This
you
is
have.
about my country.
That is the only
and
lame
not your-
argument that you have.
This is not about
Kailash Vijayvargiya said we will
Tom.
utilize the Agniveers as our security guards.
We want
That is what
youngsters.
Vijayvargiya said.
No. If he has said that, his party should reprimand him. No. If he has said that, his party should reprimand him. We will. Anirban, hold on. Tom, just hold on. We will go by the official announcements. Tom, since you come from Kerala, which has for the longest period of time been under the Communist Party, so Bengal for the longest period of time was under Communist Party. I remember reading somewhere in Bengal during the Communist days, it was said, Chakri chai, kat chai na. I think we don't want that. I will give the last word. I'll give the last word to our subject experts. Let me begin with SP Ved Saab and then go to General Sinha and Anil Gupta Saab. Just short words. SP Ved Saab. You think that the opposition is being wrong in throwing the baby out with the bath water, knowing fully well that it is an imperative of national security that we get younger forces?
Why are you not allowing us to ask questions, right? What is the
Abhishek,
problem? I want to ask a few questions with your learned panel, with the experts.
Abhishek, I quick 2-3 points. Number one.
Yeah, we are allowing you. We are allowing you. Let the experts respond.
Yeah, the 2-3 quick points I'll make. Number one, everyone in the country must understand that Army, Air Force and Navy is not reducing regular induction in the Army. 25% constitutes that, which they take every year. And the remaining 75% are the additional who would be trained on them. About 15-16 lakh would be spent. And when they retire after 4 years, when they are not absorbed, they would get a handsome amount. Imagine at the age of 24, you have that much money. And with these announcements by the government, you will have a trained manpower for the Central Armed Forces, State Police Forces, and the wings of the various sectors of the armed forces. Number two, whenever major reform is brought, why are we up? Why should it not be discussed? Now, last point, if pension is the only issue, I think that could have been taken by the all the political parties with the government. A mechanism could be worked out. Whatever amount is being given, 16-17 lakh, some mechanism could be worked out for monthly pension out of that money.
Right, sir. Faisal Ali, 30 seconds to you because you wanted to make your point. Quick 30 seconds before I wrap up.
Well, see, what these people are saying that everything is hunky-dory with this policy. My question is why there is a division between the army veterans. There are a lot of people who are opposed to this policy. Secondly, even the former army chief General V.K. Singh, who is a cabinet minister, he himself said on the television that he has not been consulted. Okay, there must be a panel. But even then, he should have been consulted. Secondly, if I'm not wrong, all the 4 reports, even the Swaminathan report, has not mentioned the age in the army modernization schemes. So why they are sticking to 17 to 21 bracket?
No, Faisal Ali, I'll answer that. I'll answer that.
Secondly,
I will answer that. Everything is hunky-dory in this scheme because it has been designed by the forces for themselves, keeping in best interests of the country in mind. Faisal Ali, the opposition has called for a nationwide bandh tomorrow.
Yes, we support.
We don't know who is actually behind this. Hold on. The opposition has called for a nationwide bandh tomorrow. We don't know who is behind this actually. The same opposition that cannot unite under one umbrella in any election, the same opposition which is not able to conjure up a name for a presidential candidate despite meetings and confabulations. We have out of the blue a bandh call coming. Who are these forces? Who's backing them? One thing is clear. The government has doubled down. We had Tri-Services Top Brass making it unambiguously clear that there is no looking back on Agnipath. If it is turning out to be a path of fire, so be it. If nation's defense needs these changes, and despite waiting for 40 years, they have not happened, we better go through the motions and give the forces the Agniveers. For the vandals and the rioters, adequate warnings are in place for tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching this Sunday evening, The Burning Question. Arnab Goswami, our editor-in-chief, will be back tomorrow with the debate.